Question number 1. What is the answer for this question? Young's experiment establishes that. Now you can write your options in the chat box. What is the Young's experiment establishes that? Answer will be option A. Young's experiment is only talking about waves, not about particles. Therefore, the answer to first question is option A. Moving on to the next question. In the interference pattern, energy is created at the position of maxima, destroyed at the position of minima, conserved but redistributed, or none of the above. Yes, here the answer will be option C. It is redistributed. So in the interference, you know that energy is transferred from a region of destructive interference to the region of constructive interference. So the average energy being always equal to the sum of the energies of the interfering waves. Hence, the phenomena of interference is in complete agreement with the law of conservation of energy. Question number 3 now. What answer did you get for question number 3? Because you must have solved this question. So what's your answer for question number 3? Yes, the answer will be option C. So if you've done it perfectly, your width is lambda d upon d. Lambda, capital D and small d was given to you. So your answer should be option C. So if you've got an option C, very good, excellent. Moving on to the next question. In Young's double slit interference experiment, the slit separation is made threefold. So what is the fringe width? What answer did you all get for question number 4? Answer will be option A, because the width is inversely proportional to small d, right? So if d becomes thrice, then the width, here I have just used the notation as beta. In your notebook, it is W. So the beta becomes 1 by 3 times. So its answer is option A. Moving on to the next question. Question number 5, I hope you solved. So what did you get for question number 5? Yes, question number 5, excellent. Many of you all have got the right answer. It's option C. So here we are just taking the direct proportion relation between width and wavelength. So all you had to do is width W1 upon W2 is lambda 1 upon lambda 2. So that should give you the answer as option C. Next question, question number 6, what did you get? Yes, question number 6, you all are telling me that you've got option A. That's very good. Option A is your answer, because again width formula. So if you apply it, you will get 0.015 centimeters. Very good. So your speed is also good nowadays. Question number 7. Question number 7, what's your answer? The figure shows a double slit experiment, right? P and Q are the slits. The path lengths are n lambda and n plus 2 lambda. So where n is a whole number and lambda is the wavelength. So taking the central fringe as 0, what is formed at x? You have to guess whether it's the first bright, first dark, second bright, or the second dark. So as it is n plus 2, the answer for this will be nothing but option C, that is the second bright, because for brightness, you know the part difference. So second is the bright. So it is option C. Question number 8. In Young's double slit experiment, if one of the slit is closed fully, this we have discussed in class sometime. If you remember, what is question number 8? Yes, excellent. Question number 8 is nothing but option A, right? It is option A because a bright slit will be observed and no interference pattern will exist. Moving on to question number 9. In Young's experiment, the distance between the slit is reduced to half and the distance between the slit and the screen is double. Then what happens to the fringe width? Yes, the answer should be option D. So if you have got the answer as option D, then you're absolutely correct. It will become 4 times, right? Again, width formula is lambda D upon D. Question number 10. What is your answer for question number 10? If the maximum intensity is I and if one of the slit is closed, then at that place you're getting I naught. Which of the following relation is true for question number 10? The answer will be option C. So here we are using that formula, resultant formula IR is equal to 4I cos square phi, where phi is the phase difference between the waves at the point of observation, right? So I hope it's clear till question number 10. In case you have any doubt in whatever questions that you are solving, you may always send it on WhatsApp so I can send you an explanation. Is that clear? In case you're not following any solution here. So that is absolutely possible. Let's move on to question number 11. Please try now. 30 seconds time, please start. 30 seconds time, please start. The Young's experiment is performed with the lights blue with a lambda 4360 and green with a lambda 5460. Then if the distance of the fourth fringe from the center is x, then what do you think? Yes. So the answer is correct. It is option C. So those of you got C is absolutely correct. You know the distance of the bright fringe formula, n lambda d upon small d. And so the relation between the distances is equal to lambda 1 upon lambda 2. Hence you will get green is greater than blue. Question number 12. Try this question. In Young's double slit experiment, if the widths of the slits are in the ratio 4:9, the ratio of the intensity at maxima to the intensity at minima will be. The answer to question number 13 is that if you remember that both the sources have to be coherent. Therefore, here in this case, if one is covered with a blue filter and the other is covered with a yellow filter, then the interference pattern will not be formed. That is option D. Question number 14. In a biprism experiment, by using light of wavelength 5000 Angstrom, 5 mm wide fringes are obtained on a screen 1 meter away from the coherent sources. The separation between the two coherent sources is, that means you have to find small d. Yes, 14 will be option B. So that is going to be 0.1 mm. Moving on to the next question, question number 15. In a double slit experiment, instead of taking slits of equal widths, one slit is made twice as wide as the other. Then in the interference pattern, what will happen? For question number 15, if you're going to make the slit width more, that means your width is directly proportional to your intensity. So in question number 15, the intensities of both, that is maxima and the minima, will increase. So in interference between the waves of equal amplitudes A, the minimum intensity is 0 and the maximum intensity, if you remember, Imax was 4a square, right? So for waves of unequal amplitudes, हम लोग यूजुअली सेम अगर A1 और A2 A है, अगर वो दोनों अनइक्वल है एंड कैपिटल A इज ग्रेटर देन A, देन ऑब्वियसली द मिनिमम इंटेंसिटी आई मिनिमम हमको 0 आता था अगर हम लोग दोनों को A लेते थे तो यहाँ पर हमें नॉन जीरो मिलेगा एंड द मैक्सिमम इंटेंसिटी इज प्रोपोर्शनल टू, it will be obviously greater than 4a square. Next question. In a Young's double slit experiment, the separation of the two slits is double. To keep the same spacing of the fringes, the distance d of the screen from the slit should be made. This is quickly, 15 seconds. If the separation of the two slits is doubled, then it will become 2D. It is option C. So here it is option C, that is 2D. Question number 17. Conditions for diffraction is. What is the condition for diffraction? Can you identify from the options? In question number 17, you must remember that for diffraction, the size of the obstacle, if you remember in the class, we have done 3 types of obstacles in a diffraction. So for diffraction, the size of the obstacle, please remember, must be of the order of wavelength of the wave. So the answer over here is option A, that is A by lambda should be equal to 1. So this is a very important question because many of you all have not answered it correctly. So remember, the condition of diffraction is A by lambda should be equal to 1, because the aperture opening should always have the order of the wavelength. Moving on to the next question. 18. Light of wavelength 5000 Angstrom falls normally on a narrow slit. A screen placed at a distance of 1 meter from the slit and perpendicular to the direction of light. The first minima of the diffraction pattern is situated at 5 mm from the center of the central maxima. What is its width? Answer to this question is option A if you've got the right answer. So the position of the nth minima is given by the formula n lambda d by d. So you just had to find small d by substituting the distance along with the data given to you. So your answer should match with option A. Moving on to the next question. Question number 19. Red light is generally used to observe diffraction pattern from a single slit. If blue light is used instead of red light, then the diffraction pattern will be. It will be option B because it will contract, right? Vibgyor. That's what you have to remember. So the lambda of blue is less than the lambda of red. Therefore, the fringe pattern will contract. Moving on to the next question. Question number 20. Diffraction effects are easier to notice in the case of sound waves than in the case of light waves. Why? If you remember, we have discussed this in class because both sound waves and light waves will show diffraction. But the bending is more in the case of sound waves. So if the bending is more, that means they have longer wavelength. So that is the answer option D. Moving on to the next question. 21. To observe diffraction, the size of an obstacle should be of the same order as wavelength, should be much larger than wavelength, have no relation to wavelength, or should be exactly lambda by 2. So which answer do you think for question number 21? Yes, I have repeated this on purpose just to keep you with the diffraction. It should be always of the same order as wavelength. So it is option A. Moving on to the next question, 22. The maximum intensity in Young's double slit experiment is I naught. The distance between the slit, that is small d, is given as 5 lambda, where lambda is the wavelength of monochromatic light used in the experiment. What will be the intensity of light in front of one of the slits on a screen at a distance of capital D equal to 10 times of small d? Please try 30 seconds. So here the answer will be option A. If you have got A, then you are right for question number 22. So suppose the point P is a point in front of one of the slits. So you have two slits S1 and S2 and we are taking the point P right in front and to which way we have the distance. So if this distance is D and this distance will be nothing but D by 2, right? So the path difference between both of them can be calculated here and instead of x, we will just write this as D by 2. So the answer will come as lambda by 4. And you know how to find out the phase difference. Phase difference is 2 pi by lambda into the path difference that you got here. So you will get this as pi by 2. So what is the resultant intensity? I max cos square phi by 2 should give you I naught by 2. So I hope you got the answer for question number 23. 22. Yeah. Moving on to the next question. 23. A flake of glass having a refractive index of 1.5 is placed over one of the openings of a double slit apparatus. The interference pattern displaces itself through 7 successive maxima towards the side where the flake is placed. If wavelength of the diffracted light is 600 nanometers, then what is the thickness of the flake? So the answer should be 8400 nanometer. Coming to question number 24. There are two ideal slit S1 and S2 which are placed at small d apart and are illuminated by a wavelength lambda passing through an ideal source of slit S placed on the line through S2. So you can see this is in par with S2. The distance between the planes of the slit and the source is D. A screen is placed at a distance D from the plane of the slits. The minimum value for small d for which there is darkness at this point O will be. Please read the question again and tell me what will be the answer. You may have to think of the calculation, what is required, because here the path difference is equally important. So let's look at the solution. So if you see the path difference, say delta 1 is your initial path difference and delta 2 is the path difference between the waves after emerging from the slit. Okay. So you have here as well as here. So there'll be two path differences. So delta 1, which will be nothing but SS1 minus SS2. Just we used to do the same thing, SP2 minus SV1. So this will be nothing but D square plus D square. And in the second case, our part difference will be nothing but D square plus D square minus D. So delta is nothing but when we have to find the path difference in both the cases, we have to add both of them up. So when you add both of them up, you should get D square by D. Okay, and whatever we need at point O, it must be equal to 2n minus 1 lambda by 2, because that is how we will get the dark fringe. Therefore, by substituting d square by d, which is our delta over here, we will get the option. So you have to be very careful when you're doing this, because we have two path differences here, unlike our usual when we have only one part difference, because there's a part difference here as well as here, and both the combination will be seen at point O. So if you use this particular calculation, पहले delta 1 ढूंढना है आपको, उसके बाद आप delta 2 ढूंढेंगे और दोनों का जो summation आएगा वो आपको d square by d लेके आएगा, and then you can substitute to get the answer for 28, which will match to option C. It will be under root of lambda d upon 2. Question number 25, I'm sure you will get. Try. Question number 25 is simple. If the amplitude ratio of the two sources producing interference is 3:5, what is the ratio of the intensities at maxima and minima? This is quite simple. I don't think you should take much time. Just substitute quickly. Yes, it is option C. You should get 16:1. Imax upon I'm in direct formula, no change. So that's just 16:1. Moving on to the next question. Question number 26. For constructive interference to take place between two monochromatic, what should be the part difference? For constructive, obviously everyone knows the answer. It should be option C. I hope you got it right. Next, question number 27. Two waves have been given. So what is the amplitude of the resulting wave? Question number 27. What should be the amplitude of the resulting wave? So one is given to you as 4 sine omega t, and the other is given to you as 3 sine omega t plus pi by 3. So they interfere at a point. Then we have to find out what is the amplitude of the resulting wave. So 27 will be option B. Because first of all, the phase difference, and we know the amplitude. So you have to, if you remember, we had done it in class, our notes, it is capital R. So capital R was this formula: A1 square plus A2 square plus 2A1 A2 cos phi. So here phase difference is given to us, and you know the amplitude from both the equations 4 and 3. You pick up the phase from here and then you substitute in the amplitude formula. So this answer comes to option B, that is 6. Moving on to the next question, question number 28. Two coherent sources of intensities I1 and I2 produce an interference pattern. Then what is the maximum intensity in the interference pattern formula? Twenty-eight will be option D, under root of I1 plus under root of I2 the whole square. So here the answer is option D. So you know the resultant intensity formula. It was I1 plus I2 plus 2 root I1 I2 cos phi. So for maximum resultant intensity, phi is 0. So cos of 0 will become 1 and will give you I1 plus I2 plus 2 root I1 I2, which is nothing but root of I1 plus root of I2 the whole square. So if you've answered option D, it's absolutely correct. Moving on to the next question, 29. There are two beams of light having intensity I and 4I interfere to produce a fringe pattern on a screen. The phase difference between the beams is is pi by 2 at point A and pi at B. Then the difference between the resultant intensities will be. So you're taking a point A where your intensity is nothing but, so you're taking IA and IB. So एक का part difference pi by 2 लेना है, दूसरे का pi लेना है. Please try the question. Everyone has to try, because then you will know where you need more practice. 29th question, the answer will be option B. So at point A, the resultant intensity will be I1 plus I2, that will give you 5I. And at point B, we will find the resultant. So that is nothing but 5I plus 4I. So you'll get 9I. So you have to take the difference between this. So IB minus IA is nothing but 9I minus 5I. Hence the answer will be 4I. Moving on to the 30th question. Try this one. It's very simple. You'll be able to answer. The two waves are represented by y1 is a sine omega t and y2 is a cos omega t. So what is the relation between them? You have to be careful when you think of lead and lag. The two waves are, one is A sine omega t and the other is A cos omega t. So you know that cos can be represented in term of sine as well. So reread twice the question before the answer. So if you see, this y2 can be written as A sine omega t plus pi by 2, right? So the y2 can be written as A sine omega t plus pi by 2. So when you consider y1 and y2, who do you think will be leading? Y2 will be leading y1. That means y1 will lag the second by pi by 2. So they've asked you the first wave. So the question is the first wave. So the first wave lags the second by pi by 2. I hope this is clear. So I'm going to 31 to 50. So the first 30 questions I had put interference and diffraction. 31 to 50, moving on to semiconductors. Try 31. Silicon is a semiconductor. If a small amount of arsenic is added to it, then its electrical conductivity. Can you try? What will happen to the electrical conductivity? Yes, the electrical conductivity must increase. 32, because impurity or doping increases the conductivity. Question number 32. There are three semiconductors in front of you. They are arranged in the increasing order of their energy gap. Which one is the correct arrangement? Which one is the correct arrangement? For question number 32, the correct arrangement will be the first option, that is tellurium, then germanium, and then silicon. Question number 33. Okay, so the number of holes and the conduction respectively. Okay, I think there's some misprint in my this question. I'll just move on to question number Ne and NH. Okay, let Ne and NH be the number of holes and conduction electrons respectively in a semiconductor. Then what kind of semiconductor is it? If Ne becomes equal to NH, okay, so the condition is missing here. If Ne and NH are the number of holes and conduction electrons, then so if NH is the number of holes and Ne is the number of conduction electrons, then Ne, if it is equal to NH, then what will be your answer? Agar dono equal hai, then it will be nothing but an intrinsic semiconductor. If both are equal, then it is nothing but an intrinsic semiconductor, that is option C. So if one of it becomes more, then it goes to extrinsic. Question number 34. When an N type of semiconductor is heated, what will happen? Will the number of electrons increase while that of holes decrease? Will the number of holes increase while that of electrons decrease? Will the number of electrons and holes remain the same, or the number of electrons and holes increase equally? Please read the question twice before you give an answer, because here the question is not about the doping. Here the question is if the N type of semiconductor is heated, then what will happen? (34). Please remember the answer is D. The number of electrons and holes will equally increase. Because here it's not about the doping part, here it's about the heating part. So the electrons, how much ever electrons you can think are going to be free electrons, that many holes will also be created. Hence the answer for question number 34 is option D. Question number 35. Which of the following energy band diagram shows the N type of semiconductor? Whenever you look at an N type of semiconductor, first of all, you must know that an N type of semiconductor is an extrinsic semiconductor. So it will have its impurity level. So that therefore A and D is not your answer, because you're not talking about the impurity level. So you have to guess between B and C. This is something to do with the Fermi level, as you must have done the energy band diagram in the chapter of semiconductor. So you have to guess between B and C, which is the right option for N type of semiconductor. N type of semiconductor, another way of thinking about this question is that N means there are large number of electrons. And another thing you have to think about is the position of the conduction band and the valence band. So that should bring you to the right answer. Yes, so the right answer is option B. Conduction band, valence band, and the impurity level is closer to the conduction band because of the large number of electron concentration. So answer is option B. 36. Resistivity of a semiconductor depends on. Resistivity of a semiconductor depends on. Does it depend on the shape of the semiconductor? Does it depend on the atomic nature of the semiconductor? Does it depend on the length of the semiconductor, the shape and the atomic nature of the semiconductor? The resistivity of a semiconductor will always depend on its atomic structure. That's why the answer to this question is option B, the atomic nature of the semiconductor. Question number 37. The reverse biasing in a PN junction diode. The reverse biasing in a PN junction diode, does it decrease with the potential barrier, increases the potential barrier? Does it increase the number of minority charge carriers? So what option is the reverse biasing in a PN junction doing? Okay, that's very straightforward question. It increases the potential barrier. So it is option B for question number 37. Question number 38. Zener breakdown in a semiconductor diode occurs when? When does the breakdown occur? Forward current exceeds a certain value, reverse bias exceeds a certain value, forward bias exceeds a certain value, or potential barriers reversed or reduced to zero. Zener diode is basically a reverse bias diode. So in case of Zener diode, there are two breakdowns. One is called avalanche breakdown and the other is called Zener breakdown. So which one of it occurs? Obviously, the answer here is reverse bias. Whenever reverse bias exceeds a certain value, so when you're increasing the reverse bias voltage, at that time the breakdown that occurs is called as the Zener breakdown. So the option here is option B. Question number 39. In the given figure, which of the diodes are forward bias? In the given figure, which of the diodes are forward bias? Forward bias, if you know, the P side must be greater than the N side. So in which of the options here? So when you're looking at the options, you have to look down because it's a combination. It's not just one which is having forward bias. So the options here is, this is the first figure, this is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth, and this is the fifth. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. So can you guess which, so look at the options over here, A, B, C, D below, and guess which of them are forward bias. So forward bias is when the P terminal has to have a higher potential compared to the N side. So this is the P side and this is the N side. This is called grounding. Grounding matlab zero potential. So here it's all grounded. So this is zero potential. This is also zero potential. For question number 39, the answer will be option B. 2, 4, and 5 are forward bias. So if you look at this, P is at 10 and N is at 5. Here P is at -5 and N is at -12. And in the fifth one here, this is grounded and this is -10. So in all the three cases, your P side is higher. Hence the answer is option B. That is 2, 4, and 5. Question number 40. A potential barrier of 0.5 volt exists across a PN junction. If the depletion region is 5 into 10 raised to -7 meters wide, then what is the intensity of the electric field in this region? So here you have to use the formula because here we're talking about a potential barrier width. Then they are talking about the voltage. So the formula that we always use in such cases where there is electric field, there is some depletion width and potential difference, E is nothing but V by D. So if you do E is equal to V by D in this question, then you must get the option A. So E is equal to V by D, data is given to you, your answer must match to option A. Question number 41. What's the serious drawback of the semiconductor device? First, they cannot be used with high voltage. Second, they pollute the environment. They are costly or they do not last for a long time. Yes, they cannot take very high voltages and hence the answer for this is option A. 42. What is the phase difference between the input and output voltage of a common emitter circuit? Common emitter is used as an amplifier. So the output and the input of this amplifier, how are they related? Yes, absolutely. The answer is 180-degree out of phase. The output of a transistor amplifier is always 180-degree out of phase. So the answer over here for 42 is option C. 43. In an NPN transistor, the collector current is 24 milliampere. So IC is given to us. If 80% of the electrons reach collector, its base current will be 43. IC is 80 by 100 of IE. And IC was given to you as 24 is 80 by 100 of IE. So of the main current, जो emitter current होता है वो main current होता है. मैंने एक वीडियो डाला था थोड़ा सा रिवाइज करते हुए certain aspects, अगर आपने चेक किया है YouTube पे. One of the concept over there I have explained is your Lorentz force. दूसरा वाला I have explained hysteresis loop, and I have also explained common emitter transistor amplifier. So that much you should know that IE is always greater. So IC is 80% of IE. So when you substitute this, you should get IE as 30 milliampere. So if you're right, then the answer is option D. Moving on to question number 44. For a common base configuration of PNP transistor, IC upon IE is 0.98. Then the maximum current gain in the common emitter configuration will be IC and IE is given to us. So IC by IE is given to us as 0.98. And what is IC by IE? If you remember common base, जो common होता है वो formula में नहीं आता है. So whatever you can see out here is nothing but alpha. आपको अल्फा दिया गया है 0.98 और जो मैक्सिमम करंट गेन कॉमन एमिटर कॉन्फ़िगरेशन में वो पूछ रहे हैं, मतलब उन्होंने आपको बीटा पूछा है. सो अल्फा और बीटा के बीच के रिलेशन को यूज करके आपको बीटा लेके आना है. Is nothing but alpha upon 1 minus alpha. So when you use this, you will get the answer as 24. The symbol given in this, can you recognize which transistor is this? Obviously, it's not a diode. So option C and D is out of question. So think about A and B. Which one is this? Yes, 45 is option A. That is, it is an NPN transistor. So this is basically the direction of the holes. So you must remember that जो arrowhead होता है transistor symbol में, it shows the direction of the hole flow in the emitter region. Question number 46. A common emitter amplifier is designed with an NPN transistor of 0.99 alpha. Input impedance मतलब R in, R I भी बोल सकते हैं, R B भी बोल सकते हैं, वो 1 किलो ओम है, और R L या R C भी बोल सकते हैं 10 किलो ओम्स. What is the voltage gain? जो वीडियो डाला था एक्स्ट्रा कंसेप्ट्स ऑफ फिजिक्स में, वहां पे वोल्टेज गेन और का फॉर्मूला डाला हुआ था. तो AV वोल्टेज गेन होता है, और ये जो लोड का रेजिस्टेंस दिया होता है और जो इनपुट दिया रहता है, इसके रेशियो से आपको रेजिस्टेंस गेन मिलेगा. सो लोड अपॉन इनपुट विल गिव यू रेजिस्टेंस गेन. तो इससे हम वोल्टेज गेन को निकाल सकते हैं, बिकॉज हमारे पास अल्फा है. अल्फा से क्योंकि ये कॉमन एमिटर है तो हमें बीटा निकालना पड़ेगा. सो 3 स्टेप में आंसर आएगा. पहले ये याद रखना है कि वोल्टेज गेन क्या होता है. वोल्टेज गेन इज बीटा इंटू रेजिस्टेंस गेन. तो पहले बीटा निकालेंगे, अल्फा अपॉन 1 माइनस अल्फा से आपको 99 आएगा. फिर रेजिस्टेंस गेन क्या होता है, आउटपुट अपॉन इनपुट, यानी कि लोड अपॉन इनपुट. तो यहाँ पे जो लोड रेजिस्टेंस दिया हुआ है दैट इज 10 किलो ओम्स और जो इनपुट है वो 1 किलो ओम है, तो इससे आपको रेजिस्टेंस गेन आ जाएगा. तो वोल्टेज गेन इज बीटा इंटू रेजिस्टेंस गेन्स डाल के यू विल गेट वोल्टेज गेन एज 990. ऑप्शन सी था आंसर. 47th question. In a transistor circuit shown here, the base current is given. मतलब IB आपको दिया गया है. The value of resistance RB, यहाँ का RB क्या होगा? अगर आपको IB पता है तो यहाँ का RB क्या होगा? You have to just use Ohm's law. So what is Ohm's law? V is equal to IR. जो net potential यहाँ पर दिखेगा वो 9 volt ही है. So if you use V is equal to IR, the resistance answer will come to 257 kilo ohms. That is option B. 48. Which of the following is used to produce radio waves of constant amplitude? इसमें से कौन सा device है जो is used to produce constant amplitude? Can you guess? FET एक टाइप का ट्रांजिस्टर ही होता है, उसको FET कहते हैं, फील्ड इफेक्ट ट्रांजिस्टर कहते हैं उसको. So FET is a type of transistor. Third is a rectifier. Fourth is an amplifier. So which one is used to produce radio waves of constant amplitude? रेडियो वेव्स बनाने के लिए हम लोग यूज करते हैं ऑसिलेटर को. सो ट्रांजिस्टर विद अ फीडबैक को ही हम ऑसिलेटर कहते हैं. सो हियर द आंसर इज ऑप्शन ए. ए इज नथिंग बट द device that gives you radio waves. Question number 49. Logic gate. To get an output 1 from the circuit shown in the figure, the input must be. Take a look at this and quickly answer in 30 seconds. Give me the answer for this following question. The first thing that you have to do when you see such diagrams is that you have to take the output of the first one, that is A plus B यहाँ आएगा. And A plus B जो है C के साथ उसका product यहाँ पर आएगा. So the Boolean expression that you have to think about this is A plus B the whole bracket dot C. तो फिर आपको ये आ जाएगा. So what do you think is the correct answer for this? Yes, it will be option C. So अगर आप इसको solve करेंगे with the Boolean expression, आप values डाल देंगे A और B में, so whatever answer you get will match to option C. So see that you are solving these kind of questions also. Tell me the 50th and the last question for today. The temperature dependence of resistivity of a semiconductor is represented by. What is the temperature dependence of a semiconductor? I'm just correlating this question to the 31st question. 31st question में आपको कुछ समझाया गया था, उसका लॉजिक आप लास्ट क्वेश्चन में यूज करें, दैट इज 50th क्वेश्चन में यूज करें. रेजिस्टिविटी ऑफ अ सेमीकंडक्टर और टेम्परेचर का क्या रिलेशन होगा? See, remember with rise in temperature, the resistivity of semiconductors will decrease exponentially. So this is something that you have to remember. The temperature dependence of resistivity decreases. So the जैसे टेम्परेचर बढ़ेगा उसकी रेजिस्टिविटी डिक्रीज एक्सपोनेंशियली होगी, इसलिए आंसर उसका ऑप्शन सी होगा. So before I conclude today's session, I think I gave this question in one of the groups. Can you try this question? And the last question for today it is, in a double slit arrangement, fringes are produced using light of 4800 Armstrong. One slit is covered by a thin plate of glass of refractive index 1.4 and the other with another glass plate of same thickness, but refractive index is nothing but 1.7. By doing so, the central bright shifts to the original fifth bright fringe from the center. What is the thickness of the glass plate? Can you think about this question? So the answer to this question will be as follows. Just like we had done some time back, we are using the shift formula here. And this is the arrangement of the entire experiment. So delta x, that is the shift, is nothing but beta by lambda mu minus 1, and this is in the first case and this is in the second case. तो दोनों का डिफरेंस लेना है क्योंकि यहाँ पे दो रिफ्रैक्टिव इंडेक्स की बात हो रही है, इसलिए दो बार शिफ्ट हुआ है आपका पाथ. That's why the net shift will be written as beta by lambda mu2 minus mu1 times of t. And it is given to us in the question that it is the fifth bright fringe. So we are substituting it as 5 beta. If you substitute this and solve for t, then you will get 5 lambda upon mu2 minus mu1, and your answer will be matching to option A. Please take it down. So we come to the end of today's lecture, and best wishes from SDC. I hope you are all safe, and please study. I know that all of you must be worried, but I think everything will be all right. You are going to write that exam, so there's no doubt about that. Okay, so then take care, study well. Yeah, okay.